What do you think of it?
I think it's a problem. I'll be voting no. For 8 years, Republicans jumped up and down at the deficits and out-of-control spending of the previous administration. Yet, if you look at the last 4 years of the Obama administration and look at our deficits for this fiscal year, potentially what's projected for next year, there's not much difference, if any. In fact, there may be even a little bit of increase on our side.
Do you have any worries? Mick Mulvaney now is addressing reporters, and we're going to be monitoring, Congressman, but that a lot of Republicans don't like this spending measure. Many are very concerned, for example, on the administration's push on these tariffs, and that there's a problem in the family. Is there?
Well, I think we understand the bigger vision. We're trying to work together. We've had a good year in 2017, ANWR, pro-life legislation, regulatory relief, tax reform, but we cannot rest on those laurels going into November 2017. Republicans have been preaching fiscal responsibility, and it's not just a matter of the spending, Neil, but the process to drop 2,300 pages last night and then have a vote less than 24 hours. A lot of Republicans are having an issue with that as well.
All right, on the tariff thing, Kevin Brady, the House Ways and Means chief, had said that a trade war risked wiping out any of the tax cut gains. I'm paraphrasing. What did you make of that?
I think conservatives and moderates across the board, even some Democrats, would agree with that. I can think of VF Corp that's located in Greensboro, North Carolina, my district. The EU has already threatened a 25% hike on Wrangler blue jeans. So there was Newton's third law: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction to this. So I want to make sure that, yes, are there some bad road players? Call them out. But before we make drastic changes, we want to make sure that we're not ultimately either driving up costs on the consumer or costing jobs for these companies.
I commend you, Congressman, for inserting Isaac Newton into this debate, but he was notoriously short the stock market, as you probably know. But Congressman, yeah. All kidding aside, your final thoughts on what happens now? Because the president, through Mick Mulvaney earlier today, indicating just now, as a matter of fact, that the president will sign this spending, initiative if it ever gets to his desk. So there's a subtle pressure there on fellow Republicans, maybe guys like you included, to go along, right?
Well, it is. Some of the things like continued and even increased funding for energy renewables. We're looking at bringing back the Export-Import Bank, funding that. These are principles and things that Republicans, for the most part, have stood against. Listen, I understand Speaker Paul. He's worked very hard to even maintain some of the pro-life provisions in these negotiations. Right. But we have promised that we would do things in a different capacity, and we need to be able to do that. Part of what drives our electorate, even if you're talking about from a political strategic standpoint, this November, when the majority is on the line, our base will turn out if we are keeping our promises. We saw that they didn't do that with Saccone in Pennsylvania. If you go back to 2014, Murphy turned out, yes, yeah. So that's a problem for us.
All right, Congressman, thank you very